Good evening, everyone. Welcome to In Conversation with. Today, it's a privilege to introduce a remarkable education leader, Mrs. Poonam Arora. With over 27 years of experience, she has consistently worked towards shaping young minds and building environments where students don't just learn, they grow, question, and thrive. Mrs. Arora is known for her forward thinking leadership and her deep commitment to nurturing confident, future ready individuals. She believes in creating classrooms that encourage curiosity, collaboration, and a genuine love for learning, while also fostering values like transparency and inclusivity. Over the years, she has held key leadership roles in esteemed institutions such as Delhi Public School, Allen House Public School, and City Montessori School. Alongside her administrative expertise, she has also been a passionate English educator, inspiring students and delivering excellent academic outcomes. Sorry about that. As a CBSE resource person, she actively contributes to teacher training and capacity building, strengthening the larger education community. Her work spans early childhood education, curriculum development, innovative teaching practices, and the meaningful integration of technology in classrooms. Backed by a master's degree in English, she brings together strong academic insight and dynamic leadership. Her contributions have been widely recognized through several prestigious awards, including Principal of the Year by Plus 91 Media in 2025, Edu Honor by Time to Grow Media in 2025 again, Rabindranath Tagore National Principals Award, then Green Earth Award by Unifusion Consultants, Greenhouse Excellence Award by Zeus, Plus 91 Media Principal of the Year, Idea Insights Award, and the Future Ready Leader Award this year by Unifusion Consultants, among others. Mrs. Arora is not just an educator. She's a mentor, a change maker, and a leader who continues to inspire both students and educators alike. We are truly delighted to have her with us today. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for that
I
lovely introduction, Seema. Thank you so much. I'm really honored.
We are honored to have you here, ma'am. So, ma'am, having, such a wide, you know, kind of an experience that you have, I mean, is it okay if we start the questions like I start with questions?
Yes, absolutely. No problem.
Thank you, ma'am. So, okay, ma'am, the rules have changed today in this world now, in this here and now. Now, Marx got our generation through the door, right? But what actually opens doors for students today?
Well, Seema, our time was very different when what mattered most, and in fact, the only thing that mattered were the marks. But now, in the present scenario, when there is so much of uncertainty around, it is not only the marks. It is actually the skills because, when there is so much of uncertainty, you have to have the kind of skill set or the knowledge to be able to adjust as and when the change happens because nothing is constant, everything is changing every day, so we cannot sort of predict what's going to happen next. So what is more important is the skill set that is
Mhm.
going to sail the students through, because if they have the skills to be able to adapt, then whether the situation remains the same or as and when it changes, the child or the person can very well adjust. And I think that is more important than marks, because marks are generally, they are obtained in a controlled setup, right? The exam paper is there, they know that this much is the syllabus and this is what they're going to be a question on. But When we talk of skills, skills are that resource which help a person to adjust and adapt in an unfamiliar environment.
Wow. I mean, so let's say if a report card can't tell us how ready a child is for the world, what should we be looking at instead? As in, how do we redefine doing well in school? As you said, skills, right? So how do we redefine this doing well in school?
Uh, like when we talk of marks, we have 90 percenters, we have 80 percenters, and so on. And we also have 40, 50 percenters, right? And during the course of my experience, I have noticed that it has not been necessary that the child who scored 95 did well in their life, because now I'm at that point of my life where I'm seeing my students settling into careers. So, when I look at a child and I, sometimes wonder, oh my God, he was such a weak student, because somehow, it's difficult for me to come out completely from that old school of thought that, he was a weak student. So my criteria
Correct.
of weak again becomes marks. But then, at that time, I found that maybe this child was not able to do well, or, he was actually struggling and was branded as, okay, he should be in such and such section, because I worked in schools where students were placed in sections according to their marks, because the strategies would change according to the students, how we would be dealing with them, what kind of extra help would they need, what kind of enrichment they would need. So I would wonder, oh my God, this child was in the B section or in the C section, and look at him, he's doing so well. And maybe, my topper, maybe I means I'm not too sure whether that person is actually matching up to that percentage of marks which he had. It's not matching with the career that he is pursuing and where he is in his career right now. So we cannot say. So when I talk of defining doing well, it is actually the ability to be able to take that failure and to understand what to do when there is no solution. So the person, the child who's able to find a solution to a problem when there is no solution, is actually what I say is doing well.
Thank you so much for that. And okay, so I mean, going a little further in this, like every parent wants, their child to be confident choosing a career. But confidence comes from somewhere, right? So, what experiences and skills build that clarity early on?
If we talk of choosing a career, then the children, I feel, should be given the freedom to explore, because exploration will bring them that clarity where their passion lies. And if a child makes his or her career out of his or her passion, I think that is the best thing that can happen to a child. And how that passion can be known. How does the child know where his passion lies? That is where the school comes in, where the school gives opportunities to the students to be able to explore and find out, because they are too young to be able to decide at that very moment that what career they're going to choose. So we as schools have to give them that opportunity to be able to explore, because choosing a career or deciding one's passion doesn't come from books. The child will not be able to know his or her passion or his or her calling just by reading. It comes through experience, and we as schools have to give those opportunities for experiencing, that the child can experience and understand, okay, this is where I find myself comfortable, this is where I want to go forward, and this is not my calling, and so on. You're on mute, Seema.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, there were some people who have entered, like, late, so they were trying to join in.
My
Okay.
teachers.
Yeah. Okay, great. Welcome, all of you. Ma'am, as parents and educators, um, you know, you see, in this era of AI is already in our children's classrooms and homes.
Yeah.
As parents, yeah, as parents and educators, should we be worried, or is that the wrong reaction entirely?
Well, I will not call it a wrong reaction entirely because, again, that is where the role of the parents and the
Can you
educators. I
a voice a little? It went a little low.
Okay. Okay.
Huh.
Can you
Now
hear me
it's
now?
better. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's better.
So when we talk of the role of AI, that is where our role comes in. That is we, the educators, the parents. It is up to us how we guide the child to make use of AI, because you can't let the child sit that okay, open chat GPT and do your homework. We can't let the child do that. So that counseling, that guidance, that hand holding has to be there. For example, you find children doing their assignments, they're given a question and they just put it on the AI. Although we strongly tell the children that, you do it on your own, and if you do it through AI, we'll come to know, and you're not supposed to do that. We try to do that, but they're very smart. The current generation is very smart. They are able to find a way out of it as well. So, in that case, it is better to take them into confidence and tell them that yes, you can use it, but then let me tell you how, so that it doesn't affect you in a negative way. It will actually boost your skills, it will actually do you good if you use it the way I'm telling you. So, when the child is exposed to AI, we can always tell the child that, okay, first you try doing it by yourself. Let me see how much you can do, and then you can put it there and ask AI to correct it for you, to make it better for you. But don't put your question directly onto AI. This is something that is really required. And here I would like to quote my own example. I was very fascinated with chat GPT, and as a school leader I found, oh, it's so wonderful. It's making my work so easy, and it's so saving my time. Little did I realize what disaster it was doing to my writing skills. I was very, very fond of writing, and within minutes I would create a write up. And that was my strong point, one of my strengths, and I was always acknowledged for that at school. And I think it had been just 2 3 months that I resorted to chat GPT. And then I realized that, what a disaster it had done to me, because I was not even able to frame two sentences, and immediately the urge would be to go back to AI. There's no time, let's do it quickly from. So, at times I quote my example, my own example to the children, that, this is what happens. Because I was very much into writing, I was into comparing, I would write my scripts, I would write the write ups for school magazines. And that disaster of 2 3 months, I've still not been able to recover from it fully.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, and it is, I can speak about it with conviction because I've been through it. So even now, yes, I make use of it when I'm in a hurry to create something, but then I try, to first put it, do it myself, and then put it onto AI. So we have to guide the children that, okay, instead of asking the exact question, you can ask Chat GPT, say, to explain it to you. I'm not able to do it, how to do it. I think that would be a better way. You take the children into confidence. At the same
Mhm.
time, it will do them good as well.
So I think, you have answered my next question almost. That is that, how do we teach children to use AI as a ladder and not as a crutch? Like, where do you draw the line between smart tool use and shortcuts that stunt growth? So, I mean, a little bit more on this, because you know what? When the younger children, they still listen to you. Like, they are still not very aware of all this that is happening. But, the moment they are like nowadays, children from fifth class onwards, I mean, they are smart Alex. And they are, in fact, they are Gen Zs, right? Or rather, I don't know what the next ones are called. I mean, maybe one of the youngsters will enlighten me later. So, I mean, how do we actually draw this line? How do we, like, how can this empower and not become a crutch,
Well, I
not
would
become like,
use,
stunt their growth?
right. So I would use the terms that you
Thank
have
you, Mo.
used, that they
Yeah,
are, to be used as a ladder and not as a crutch.
yeah.
So, you can very well tell the child that at times you can do without a ladder, but you can't do without a crutch. So if you make it a crutch, then there is no going back. You will never be able to come out of it. And at the same time, it's worthwhile to tell them that if you ask one question, if you ask a solution to one question, then you remain confined to that question only. You will never be able to apply that learning to other situations. However, for a deeper learning, to be able to understand, if you understand the concept, you will be more enlightened, wiser, and you will be able to face situations which you have yet not seen. You may come across a situation, so every time you'll have to go back to AI. So why shouldn't you do it that you get the skills from AI so that you can solve any problem by yourself, and that will help to enhance your own learning, and you'll become wiser and smarter, so to say.
Thank you so much for that. Now, so let's also bring in a little bit about, like the role of a lot of parents, like the role of parents here. A lot of parents still measure success by marks and rank, right? So how do you, as a school, begin to shift that mindset? Now I'm splitting. Now from AI, we are going back to how we can just, do without the marks bit, because parents have they put the most pressure on student and their own children, right? And next we'll come to educators later on. But how do you as a school begin to shift that mindset? Like, how can parents actively support that shift at home?
Yes, very well said. That parents, at the end of the day, they come and talk about marks, even though, the child has been excelling. We had students who were doing extremely well in the NUNs, getting accolades for themselves and for the schools. And I really felt that it was a credible achievement that the child was getting, and, exposed to so many learning experiences, meeting people and interacting with them, developing confidence, adaptability, so many things. But when the parent came at the end of the year, the parent said, so what? He has scored only 65% or 70%. But then I had to tell him that during the course of the year, apart from this 60-75%, do you know that he has gained those skills which are invaluable? And this 60-65% is going to be with him for this year, and next year again he'll have a percentage with him. But these skills are going to stay with him for life. They are going to be polished as he grows, and they are going to take him a long way in life. So, first and foremost, it's the parent counseling. It's a very wide term because there are multiple ways that we have to use for parent counseling. They come heavy on us that, you just involve my child in MUNs, and you're only bothered about, winning prizes for the school, but then you see my child's performance has suffered. So we have to guide them, we have to show them. At times, we have to quote examples of previous students who probably did not do well in academics, but then they really, made their parents proud, made the school proud. PTMs, when the parents are coming for PTMs, I use those occasions to counsel the parents, because in such cases, I used to try and meet the parents personally. I would especially instruct the class teacher to send that parent to me and meet with them personally and tell them not to get hyper over marks. He will do well. He will find a way for himself. Let him be independent, because, they would be calculating. Last term you had 65. Why is it 63 this time? Or last time you had 88. Now why is it 86? So, you can't put the child within that confined cage. You have to let the child be free and explore. So PTMs, when the parents come for PTM, we rather talk about growth. And I always tell the child, compete with yourself. If you've done better than last year or better than your previous examination, you are already an achiever for me. I don't bother about comparing you with some other child. And this it means it is no exaggeration, because I'm actually doing this. And even when the new admissions that I've been taking, so I've told the children, some of them did not do very well in the entrance exam. So I first of all told them that, see, this is not an IAS exam that you have to qualify for admission. It's a kind of a baseline assessment that we do, so that you can, we can know where you stand and which are the areas that we need to work upon you, so that you can become better than what you are at present. And that is why, in my whole career as a leader, I've always given the prize of improvement in academics. I've never given first and second positions. I've never given that, because every child's calling is different. Every child's likes and dislikes about a particular subject are different. So, somebody who has a love for literature, why should I penalize him for not scoring well in science? And vice versa. A person with a scientific bent of mind, you can't expect that child to sit and read a novel or a book. So, every child's calling is different, passion is different, likes and dislikes are different. And I have made it a point that every child of my school, every child, every class goes back home with a medal. We find something in that child which can be rewarded, even something as little as for gentle demeanor. So, it's up to us. We have to first have that positive mindset to be able to find positive things in people, and that is
Correct.
when we can make people positive.
That's beautiful, and I believe that too. Thank you so much. So, the next question comes now. This is directed towards like the teachers. Teachers are also navigating this new world. How are educators being equipped to guide students through something even they didn't grow up with? Because, in this era, I think most of the professionals, I see them struggling, especially people who have not had a lot of, like, they haven't been handling things, technology wise. And, so in this kind of a environment, what would you suggest? Like, how do they equip and to guide them? How are educators equipped?
Right. So I represent St. M.R. Jaipuria group of schools, and
Mm,
here there is a lot of focus on CPT, and a lot of hand holding is there for the teachers whenever anything new is introduced. Like, for example, we introduce the ideal interdisciplinary enrichment activities for learning. So that is an interdisciplinary approach. So, before throwing them into the sea, we teach them how to swim, how to sail through, how to go about it, what can be the challenges, what are the FAQs, and how to help the child, because once they are equipped with the required competencies, only then they'll be able to guide the children. So there is a
correct.
lot of training, and we also expose the children, like if we are doing a lot of project work, so we expose the teachers to such trainings, that they get trained and equipped with the required skills to be able to guide the children. Then I've also guided my teachers to be facilitators, to reduce the TTT, that is the teacher talk time, and to focus more on the student talk time. And this is what I have been actually doing when I'm conducting my trainings. When I go for CBSE trainings, I also do the same. I try to engage the trainees so that they get more opportunities to speak and learn. So teachers are no more teachers, they are rather facilitators. So teacher facilitator, because they facilitate the learning of the children. So first of all, bringing them out of that mindset, that that authoritarian the position that was there is no longer there now. They are facilitators. They have to work as a team with the children. They have to make the children sit in groups, sit with them in those groups, see what the children experience, empathize, see what they are going through, how they are struggling, and help them navigate the challenges. So
Beautiful.
I can proudly say that my teachers are well trained for that. And the best part is that they are an ever learning community. They're always into the learning mode. So there are few things that I always insist in my school. One is the learning mode on for everybody, including me.
Okay. Wow. And I hope all your teachers are listening. You all have just been praised. Wow. So, I mean, going on to the next, like, if today's students follow this skills first approach, what does their future look like? What kind of adults are we trying to raise? Not just workers, but people. I mean, in that sense, right? Because it's not just careers, it's like, what kind of people are we raising? What kind of an impact will this kind of, training, skills first approach have? So, could you just shed some light on
Yeah, see, ma'am, when I was a student, I feel that my life was very comfortable. We didn't have to go through all these challenges. Everything, was sort of, comfortable and predictable. But now things are so, so very unpredictable. Within seconds,
Tell me
things are
about it.
changing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I felt that as a student, I was not prepared for such situations. Like even now, despite, studying so much about it and trying to bring a change in my own mindset and trying to tell me that, oh, all is well, just relax and find a solution to it. Still, I'm not that confident managing those challenges. So, my first and foremost uh, point that I want to put up here is when we equip children with the required, when with these skills of being, confident, creative, curious, uh, we are preparing learners who are ready to face any challenges. The situation, whether they are familiar with that situation, whether they are unfamiliar with that situation, they will sail through. Just if you take a very simple example that a child is learning about photosynthesis, so we as students knew photosynthesis, okay, this is the process by which green plants make their food. But now, probably if somebody had asked me at that time that why do plants die when there is, when they're not watered, probably I would have taken time to put the, things together. Now, the way we are teaching our children, they know it. They'll be able to tell you that why this is happening, because green plants make their food using water. When there is no water, that is the reason. So they are able to go around the topic as well. We were only at the center point. We were only focusing and, just going around that topic itself. But nowadays, children are able to have a broader perspective of things. They're able to think beyond the topic, question. And that is what we have to encourage. We have to encourage curiosity and never stop the children from asking questions, because that is very important. If they won't ask, they'll never learn. So, when we are preparing children with these skills, we are preparing futures ready, future smart children who will be able to adjust in any situation.
Beautiful. Nice. So, as a principal, you hold a real influence over how a school shapes its students. Now, what concrete changes inside the classroom, beyond the syllabus, and in partnership with parents are you committed to making so that every child leaves not just with a certificate, but with the confidence and skills to own their future? I know that we have discussed a lot, but I think, maybe it would be a nice sum up if you could, just give us some pointers in these, like kind of color it up for all of them, all of us here.
Well, whatever I'll be able to say it on the basis of my experience, what I have been doing, my previous schools and even this
Mm-hmm.
school, to be able to expose the children to such experiences. And one of them includes the project-based learning, which of course many schools are doing. Interdisciplinary approach. We are working on IDEAL, like I mentioned just now. So there is subject integration, and children are able to transfer the learnings of one subject to the other. If they're calculating temperature, they are transferring the learning from mathematics to geography. If they are talking about some mountain range, they are able to relate it to the history of that time when, these things happened. So, relating the subjects to each other enhances their area of knowledge, and they are able to understand things better, and good for everyone, they're able to retain them better and also apply them better. I have been exposing my children to a lot of industry visits. My commerce students went and they visited the banks. They collaborated with the people who were into finance. They learned about GST. We had events like GST Ki Pathshala, where we called people from the department to come and enlighten our children about taxation and all. Then a lot of internships. I launched something called I was with Allen House Public School, where I launched the Allen Internship Program, where we were giving internship exposure to the children in the school itself during school hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we had kept a few periods aside, and the commerce students would sit with the accountant to help in the balance sheets and all. Then the science students would do something else, maybe, help the admin in some work. Students who were very good with social media, they helped us with the social media, making reels for our school, handling the social media of the school. We had a full event organization committee where children were planning everything. We told them, it was just like AI, that first you plan and then we'll improve upon it. So wherever
Wow.
we felt there was a need to tweak the plan, we would do it. Otherwise, we would go by what the children were doing, and we would support them. That okay, even if something didn't go as planned, we would stand as a support, as a backup support, and we would help them. That okay, don't worry, we are there. So that gave children a lot of confidence to be able to organize the events, how to manage, everything from preparing the brochure to the invite to going out to schools to invite the teams, and collaborating with the vendors, coordination, then decoration, and during the event they were smartly handling everything. So the Allen internship program was a big success, and we did reward them with a little monetary benefit, just to let them have the feel of having done something worthwhile. So,
Wow.
these really helped in exposing the children to a lot of real life experiences, real life situations where they could, they're learning about balance sheets, but what does a balance sheet actually look like? That we tried to show to them. So children who were very good, we had animation as a subject in our school. So children who were doing well in that, they became part of the social media team. So this is, we found their calling, we found where their passion lay, we found where their interest was there, and that's how we related and put them into different internships. And even we also had this design for change, where children design thinking, what we call, it's commonly known as, where children were given problems, even problems, they were asked to find problems themselves. What problem do you see around? Now find a solution to it. So these little steps, I felt that did a lot in the area of making them confident, and of course enhance their learning.
Wow. I think, you have just woken my heart out. Like, I can say that. And I have been actually taking a bit of notes on the pointers, like, what all you have talked about. Um, and to sum it up, I just want to say this, that, it's like prin principals, or leaders like you heading the school makes a lot of difference and will make more of a difference. I know another such personality in one of your only Seth M.R. Jaipuria schools, and I feel that you all are contributing beautifully towards changing the mindset, making them adjust, getting them, like transitioning from this Marx era to the AI era very beautifully. That's one part of it. However, there are certain questions I still would want to raise. I would ask maybe, others too. But from what the answers that I have received, the way you think, the thought processes that, I have come face to face with, it's amazing. It's beautiful. This, this is what, like, MeHAN is into, is about AI adoption, and how well, is every sector dealing with it, or how, is it lagging behind. And this is what exactly we are concerned about, because if you're stuck in that Marx era, then many people will have, they will struggle learning. The insecurities will, trouble them, and they will not be able to march further ahead with confidence, right? um So one quick question before I throw the, field towards. Oh, hi, Shivani. Good to see you here. So one basic question that I have is that, while we're talking about all this, what about sports and extracurricular? Like, you talked about social media, you talked about a lot of stuff, but primarily about sports. So do you think that will take a hit in this era?
You reminded me that I've missed out on a lot of things that I've been doing and I haven't mentioned them. And
Please do.
my co-curricular activities, clubs, we are running clubs for the children, and that also helps them to find out their calling, because we have a sports club, we are running karate club, we have dance, we have music, we have a steam club. All these clubs at the school level when children are very small, children from grade 1 onwards are parts they are part of any club of their choice. So that helps again to help them understand where they want to go, and sports again is not an exception, where children are and it's very important to sometimes there are feelings inside the children that they're not able to vent out, and sports is one very important part where they are able to sort of vent out, they feel light, and maybe then think better. And probably, you never know, they realize that their calling lies in sports only. They can do well in sports as well. So, different, a lot of co-curricular activities, inter-house activities. We also send children for inter-school events to give them better exposure. And we are also in the process of giving them international exposure. I'm in discussion with some people whereby our children are going to connect on the international platform as well, and
Wow.
know about those children, how they are, making their decisions, how they are deciding, how they are doing different things. And then that widens their perspective, that widens their area of knowledge. And of course, that leads to better understanding and a more successful life for them.
Wow, thank you so much for that. That was one of my major concerns because, I have seen that um, children with, laptops and mobile phones, they devote less time to actually physical activity. And this is as important. So,
We use the,
and
sorry to say, we use the, sorry to interrupt here. We use the sports period sometimes to bribe the children. If you don't do your work, you won't go for the sports period. So, the work gets done immediately. And teachers, means at times I had to tell them that, why are you doing this? Please don't stop them from going for the sports. I said, ma'am, that's the best way it can work, you know. So that is there. And also, we are also into Kaushal board that has been launched by CBSE. So we have started working on that as well for grade 6 to 8, where the children are going to be doing projects under different points that have been given. So again, it comes to project based thinking and enhancing their learning, application of knowledge, application of skills to enhance their learning and make them more aware and more adaptable.
thank you so much, ma'am. Uh, I would, say that it has been a wonderful, wonderful, like at least I had a wonderful time listening to all the responses, your thought process, the way you have been going about, and the way you are integrating, skills and the AI, the technology, all of it, in, actually empowering the children skill wise, because that is adding to their skills and changing mindset of parents also, training your educators, making them facilitators. This is really, really, nice. One of your teachers says, I think we are really proud to work under her leadership. So much to learn from her. Thank you, ma'am. See, Shivani, I think she was right here. So I'll open the field now, for if anybody has any questions. We have around 10 to 12 minutes. We can deal with that. Ma'am, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely fine, no problem.
Okay. So, yeah. So, okay. Uh, Umu has raised her hand. Um,
May I?
uh, yes, yes, Shivani, first, I'm sorry, Umu, but please, because, her time has been like she's trying to, somehow juggle between meetings. So, yes, Shivani, please.
Thank you so much, Seema ma'am, for consideration. And sorry, Umu ma'am, for taking a little bit of your time, but I hope you would understand that. And Poonam ma'am, what an amazing talk to listen to. I mostly heard most of it, and being into skilling sector, being into human resources and learning and development for a long time, 21st century skills are a very soft spot for me, and I'm very happy. Like I mentioned in the comment as well, that that is the best thing I've heard. That at least some institution is asking their student to work on those skills in house, like like you mentioned the accountancy example, ma'am. But I also have like one question coming up with that. What I believe that maybe in my generation, maybe when I'm talking about 2010, 2011, information was there, of course, but it was not readily available for everyone. But today, what happens is, and when I am interacting with young professionals, their problem is completely different. Their problem is the information is available so much out there that they're not able to understand anything and the direction part. Another thing is that I think so when we talk to students from class 11th and 12th, they are mostly hustling up to maybe either give a CUET or to the NEET exam or some or the other competitive exam. So somehow down the line, what I feel is that maybe I think so maybe we are just asking our children to do too much at once. Board examinations, then at the same time the exam preparation for all the kind of competitive exam. And of course, there is a strata of people who are like cream of this entire batch or cohort. They get selected and they go to the best of the best institutions for sure. But I want to know that how to guide the students who are left and they are not getting selected, maybe in a CUET, maybe in an IIT or an IIM. And how do you, being an educator and being a support system at school, and how do your teacher also? I heard that teachers are also in the cohort. You support those students, and how do you guide them?
Thank you for that question, Shivani. Like I mentioned, that I've always been giving a prize for improvement in academics. So at the very onset, even in the smaller classes, the child grows up with that confidence that he may not be a topper, but he has some skills for which he is being rewarded. He has done something good for which he or she is being rewarded. And we as educators, it is up to us the kind of guidance we give, the kind of counseling we give, to be able to to be able to guide the children to understand what best they can do. It is not necessary that CUET is the end of the world if they're not able to get through. I have examples of my students, who he was just a very, very average student. I am quoting his example because I just met him around 2 months back. And he at that time he did not know what he would do. His mother would ask him, "What are you planning to do? You're not studying." And he would say, "I don't know. मैं पहले 10th तो pass कर लूँ." He would speak like that. And now he's opened a salon for himself, and he's doing extremely well. When I read the reviews and when I see, so these are success stories which I keep sharing with the children, and we keep telling the children that whatever you do it best. Do it the way that there should be no scope of any lapse in that. Do it to the best of your ability. It is not necessary that you're not doing well in maths, you're doing good in English. That is fine. So, information, of course, we have, there is no end to the information that is available for the children, and they are confused, they don't know. So, the kind of skills that we are inculcating in the children, like we talked about 21st century skills, problem solving skills, this is also a problem which they'll be able to solve for themselves. They will be able to understand that if they have not been able to get through CUET, there is something else for them as well. That is not the end of the world. That's why I mentioned adaptability, that a child who knows what to do when there is no solution to the problem is the one we are trying to create, and those children are the ones who are going to adjust well in the world.
Absolutely, ma'am. I completely agree. Thank you so much. And I would ask Umu ma'am to come and ask her question. And and thank you so much, ma'am. It was actually a lovely talk. And I got a lot of suggestion also. Maybe I'll pass it on to my coaches many a time. I also take a lot of training session in the institution. Definitely, I'll pass on a few ideas from your talk. But thank you so much for accepting our invite.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for Shivani, Seema, and everyone here. Am I audible?
Yes. Yes, please go
Yes.
ahead, Emma.
Yes. For the old people who know, like already, I am the mother of 5 children. So all are Gen Zs and Gen Z Alpha. Teachers will keep on telling my children, don't use your mobile phone, don't use AI. But according to me now, I have learned so much of AI only from my children. They learn by themselves. And very recently, I came to know my last, like fourth son, he's making his own app, which I never knew. A game app that is internationally renowned. And he's one of the member in that association also. And he taught me, mama, this, mama, that, and all. When I got a call from his teacher, I told him, like, you people are restricting the children's ideas. You're not allowing them to use mobile phone. But according to me, when they are doing their duty properly, please encourage them. Because we, the old generation, we are also learning from them, but they must not be getting addicted to it. Addiction is different. But making use of AI and everything, not only AI, your studies, your books, your habits, your discipline, everything under the control, and not suppressing and not getting above the board. It's okay. Till you say
Uh,
it's okay, you're the successor here. And the other son, he was telling like, Mama, I have invested in share market. I never knew this. And I was like happy, wow, he's doing something good, which is really good. And he was telling this to his classmates and other students and all, like, why don't we use our time in this? Instead of getting into this TikTok and Insta and some other reels they were telling me, which I'm not aware of, I'm sorry about it. But I was like happy. So it is like, if it all parents, as parents, our mentors, our teachers, our friends, our neighbors, our relatives, don't force them to watch something is not good for them. Just observe. If it is good, encourage them. But minimize the screen time. Tell them if you eat, this is done. If you pray, this is done. Take your time, sleep well, behave yourself, do this. Go and touch the grass on time sometimes. Nature needs you. So this is how I feel. Do you think I'm a good parent here? Because I want to share the same thing to the parent who is really doing this.
1 minute. I'll intercept this one. Amu, thank you for your input also about and thank you for letting us know that you have such beautiful intelligent children. Thank you very much for that. However, having been a teacher almost all my life, and I have headed a school as well for some years altogether, I would say this that, there is no judgment about being a good or a bad parent. One, because we all are parents as well. Um, Whether we are a teacher or, we have our own children, right? So I would say that, let's not put that question out. And ma'am, please now respond however you would like to.
Well, I would just take that part from what ma'am said, that, she's allowed her children to explore. She didn't put that restriction that why are you into technology? And that is
Yeah,
what we said. We as parents, let's give them the wings to fly. They have
absolutely.
been, they look up to us. If we are going to restrict them, then who's going to give them that freedom? So I
Absolutely.
have, as a parent, as a teacher, as a school leader, and for that matter, my teachers are here, and I've given them that freedom as well, that I will intervene when I feel that things are not going the right way. Otherwise, anything that is floated is always, put across to them that, suppose it's the pre-primary, so you are in the trenches, you are with the children, you are managing the cranky children, you are managing the not so pleasant or not so easygoing children. So you are the ones who are going to give me the inputs that, ma'am, we can do it in a better way. So if you have a better way, it's always welcome. There is no restriction to do the things in a particular way. So let's spread positivity around. Let's give people around us that freedom to be able to explore. As a parent, I've given wings to my children. As a leader, I give wings to my teachers, because I believe that I can be a true leader only when I create more leaders. And that can happen only when I give them the freedom to explore. That is when they will be able to give freedom to their children to explore. And again, then only they'll be giving them wings to fly.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So beautifully said. And I think that, I agree with this really, that, we need to be the wind beneath their wings.
Absolutely.
And that goes for actually all of us, not just children. We also need to be with each other. We also need to be with, our people whom we work with, whom we are, living with, who are around us, friends, family, everybody. So this
And
kind
here,
of,
if I may
please.
interrupt here, and here, see, when I say let's give freedom to the children, let's give freedom to the teachers. uh, Me as a school leader, I also, sometimes want that, I should get that freedom, and I'm using this platform to really thank my school management, my directors, who have given me that freedom. And my director always tells me, "Ma'am, work with a free mind." So you are not intimidated if they are in the school. I think that speaks volumes about the kind of mentorship they are giving to me. That
Correct.
freedom to work, freedom to explore, freedom to give suggestions. Not necessary that all are correct and not necessary that all are accepted, but then I'm made to feel that yes, I'm an important part of the organization and my word matters. So the very fact that you matter is very important for everybody. It matters to everybody that you are valuable. It matters to the children. It matters to the teachers. It matters to the principal. It matters to even our family members. Everybody wants to feel valued. And let's, work with that positive mindset. Let people understand that they are very valued and precious for us.
This is the answer to what I have heard right now. And ma'am, it's been such a pleasure having you here. You have not only brought in, like, a lot of wisdom and insight to, to our session today, but at the same time, a lot of positivity. And we just got a comment here by Umu saying that, wow, such a wonderful session with positive vibes and insights. And Shivani says, thank you, ma'am. See you in every conversation. And then Hema says this, thank you, ma'am. Your guidance helped me not only as being a teacher, but also as being a parent, to give wings for choosing destination for my daughter as well. Wow, how beautiful is that? And what more can one ask for? So, well, hoping that, more and more people get inspired and motivated to function in a similar manner. And Roshni says, wonderful session. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am says, accepting what is accountable and matters to everyone. Amazing. Kudos to the team for this session. So thank you very much. Thank you. Ruchi says, thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, I must thank you. I'm so grateful. Thank you for accepting my invitation. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. It has been wonderful today. If there's
Thank
any
you so
other
much.
question anyone would like to put forth, we have time for just one more question, please. So, ma'am, there's lots of thank yous coming in. Rajit, ma'am, thank you. She says that thank you, ma'am. Very sorry. She says very insightful experience. Swati says thank you, ma'am. Hema says wonderful session, and Anita says thank you for this wonderful session. Coordinator Velko, thank you, ma'am, for constant guidance and support. I
Welco
can
is Vrindavan Yojna, Lucknow, our campus
ah
name.
nice. Okay.
Is my
Yeah.
coordinator.
Samhita. Yeah. Samhita says, I'm honored to be a part of this session. Thank you, ma'am. And all right, Shivani, we shall do that. Petition to call Rajit ma'am as our guest. Yes, I totally agree. However, at this point of time, first and foremost, if anyone has any other question for ma'am Poonam, you're welcome. Otherwise, we shall be extending this space until next time. We will not close this space. We shall be keeping this space open and hoping that, more people would love to step in with the same positivity, with same futuristic outlook, and with the same beautiful smile and a heart that, Ma'am Poonam carried today. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Really honored.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you, Poonam
invite.
ma'am. Thank you, Shivani ma'am. Thank you, Seema
Thank
ma'am.
you, Rajit ma'am.
Shivani, so if you have anything to say,
No, nothing. Good
otherwise,
night, everyone, and enjoy your dinners. And keep joining us in every In Conversation with, which we are supposed to do every Thursdays now onwards. And
yes.
every time we'll meet a dignitary like Apuna ma'am, or like I was saying, petition to call Rajit ma'am. So anyone who is working nicely in the terms of skill development, AI, in the terms of education, someone who is actually bringing the innovation to the room, someone whose rise has been very inspiring. So we like to just learn from the experiences and also would like to share ours. So that is the whole concept of In Conversation with MeHAN Learning and Development. Thank you so much, Seema ma'am, for hosting it beautifully. I love the line of questions. And I was like, okay, मैं यहाँ नहीं हूँ तो क्या हुआ मेरे सवाल जा रहे हैं. Very nice. So
Thank you, Shivani. Thank you for that. However, before we really bid bye to ma'am, and ma'am, this is not a goodbye. That is why I said bye. Until we meet again for another session after some time. And just before we leave, let me tell you that on the 9th of April, that is this coming Thursday, we have another In Conversation with a very interesting personality. And I wouldn't be naming the person right now. That is a surprise. The creatives will be out soon, and I would invite all of you to join in. You will learn a lot. You will, you know, you will be really, really inspired and motivated by another such personality. And ma'am, thank you for ringing the bell, beginning the new session of ours, and with such elan, ma'am.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
much, ma'am. Would love to be a part of your future sessions as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you so much, ma'am.
All
Thank
right,
you,
then.
ma'am. Closing the
Uh,
session. Thanks.
yes, please. Yes,
Bye,
please.
everyone.
Thank you
Good
so much,
night.
Bye,
ma'am.
everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such insightful session. And it is not only about giving wings, but yes, if the parent will actually feel and give right to children to take their, to take their selection of their career. So I feel that yes, children will be less stressful, and even parent as well, because this is the main what happened that when children are coming into grade 10 or 11 or 12, that is the time when children are facing a lot of pressure from the parents, and same with the parent as well, that where the child wants something else. But yes, we need to understand these all things, and which this session helped us in a great way, ma'am, and looking forward for the next session. It was a wonderful session. Thank you so much, Poonam ma'am, for guiding us, enlightening us always in the school premises, outside as well. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Hima. Thank you very much. All right, then. On that note, bye-bye. See you
Bye.
soon,
Bye-bye.
ma'am. And
See
meet
you.
you in
Bye-bye.
person very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.